This episode of Super Pulp Science is brought to you by chasingartwork.com, where you can buy my prints and books. Shipping is worldwide. chasingartwork.com.
Attention, citizens. It's time for Super Pulp Science.
This is Super Pulp Science, where we talk about how genre gets made. I'm GMB Kamichak. I am here with my long-suffering co-host, Justin Curry, who has just come from a
coffee shop full of toddlers
and
adults where nobody buys coffee. I feel bad a little bit. They've set it up. It's such a friendly, like, moms and babies, and they have a play structure, and they have signs everywhere like, you can play, but please buy something.
Yeah, Justin was just there taking pictures of people's kids. That's all.
I was not. We saw Miss Rachel, and it was great.
It was great. Also with us today is producer extraordinaire, Dan Vadeboncoeur. He and I were just talking before we started recording about the shape of screenplays, tricks to get your screenplays done, filmmakers we like who have done different things. If you don't follow Dan on his Dan's talking about movies, his movie trivia.
Movie
what do you call it?
Yeah.
What do you call it? You're a TikTok. I'm not on TikTok.
Dan, thank you. It's now being posted everywhere. I'm not as much of a snob as I used to be. So
You've come down off your high horse.
It takes me an extra 2 seconds to post it on.
Oh my goodness!
Instagram,
So Dan watches movies. He talks about movies, and we talk about movies a lot before we start.
I liked his brand before it was so diluted and everywhere. And now
that's right. Yeah, when you were more of a snob, we liked
you get so much more. I just get so much more interaction on TikTok. Like people who come in, and every time I get a new person,
Russian bots,
not bots.
Yeah,
stop, not bots. Justin asked a very important question, dear listener. When he sat down, he had just come from a very important meeting arranged by his young son.
Mm-hmm.
And he sat down and he said, what are we going to talk about? And then we began recording. So we are now behind the curtain of Super Pulp Science, where what we sometimes do a moment before we record is we make a plan we talk about usually stuff that's coming up, stuff we've just done, and things that might be actually of use to people who haven't or are trying aspirationally to get some stuff finished. So why don't we frame it that way?
Okay.
That we all have some projects that we're trying to accomplish. And let's just do a quick update about what's going good and what's going bad. This is prompted by the distant voice of Lyndon Rachenka, who is here in the studio, but he has headphones on.
So he can't, we can talk about it all we want.
I'm way behind on the year away. And he can't hear me say it right now, so it's good. He's looking right at me. Lyndon, when you listen to this later, I'm so sorry how far behind I am on our project.
My number one advice always, my mind just went to set a deadline, set like an end goal.
Yeah, blew past it. Blew right past it.
Okay, well then not for the final project, but like you should have X amount of pages, you should have X amount of percentage.
I met all those goals. My problem...
milestones.
Yeah, my milestone is that I allowed myself to go on a complete flight of fancy. The Year Away as a graphic novel story is actually it's a science fiction story, but it's built around a really sad moment of kids reading their will and finding out what their mother was up to on that year away, the year she was missing, as she's on an interstellar adventure. Spoiler alert. But in order for her to go on that, I decided I would break all the advice I had ever given on this show, and I would do nothing but world building for like months. And I found myself doing maps and like ecologies and technology deep dives and like building out cultures and governments. I know better than this.
It's dangerous because the story, depending on where it ends up going, and especially if it's kind of fluid, like you might not need so much of that.
Yeah.
Or some of it won't fit what you want to do with the story. So now are you...
Absolutely. When I said that to Lyndon when I got here, he goes, great, you did all this work that won't be in the book. Isn't that useful? Right? He's 100% right.
But... put it in the back of the book.
That's your trick.
That's my... I have a big project on the go right now, and I know I'm going to have to redo some of the work that I did initially, but I still really loved that work. And so what saves my saves me mentally is I will put that in the back of the book. I'll have a little thing like here were the first, things that got scrapped.
It's not my wasted time,
Hmm.
right? Yes, it is.
It's never wasted time, but
No, it's not.
it's nice that it gets to show up somewhere.
But the other piece of it is that since I'm doing so much more traditional illustration on this project, it is much slower in general. And then I find myself overthinking techniques and elements that I will put into that project. And then in order to see if I can, then I try a bunch of warm-up drawings or designs. And then I find myself on this flight of fancy where if this, then that, and if that, then this, and oh, wouldn't that be cool? And then I'm like, oh, all I needed to do was draw this guy sitting at a table.
You
pouring
needed
tea.
step 1 and 2, but you went up to step 9.
Wait, yeah, totally ridiculous. Whereas, speaking to your deadline, I'm working on a project with Oren Bishop right now called Space Dracula. And we have a weekly catch-up meeting where I turn in 2 pages of that project every week.
Perfect.
That's my schedule. He has a much longer timeline for releasing the book, so it's actually, I'm ahead of schedule on that project. But I find if I don't, I won't, right? And that's one of the things with, he falls into the category or as a client work. Like I've been contracted to provide the art on the graphic novel. It's a work for hire project, so but it's also in this really interesting visual space, which is the exact opposite of Year Away, which is all these lines and squiggles and constant redraws and just so much line work. And Space Dracula is following more of a 60s design sense, Italian horror cinema design sense, Italian spy cinema design sense. So really, really niche.
Yeah.
Really specific.
Sorry, what was that again? Italian spy horror.
Spy. So the horror genre.
Okay.
And then also spy. What did I say?
I don't know. You said Italian horror, Italian spy,
Yeah.
Italian everything.
Italian. There's all these.
I've heard of Italian horror quite often. Italian spies.
I've never seen that. Yeah,
yeah.
I've never seen
Check it out.
Okay.
And also, just that 60s aesthetic where everyone was in and near the James Bond title sequence.
Sure.
There
Yeah.
was all like whole sets of the same way that Conan begat Beastmaster,
Yep.
right? Bond begat all these other films that were not
Correct.
quite spies, but trying to remind you that you'd come buy a ticket to that and you
Mhm.
saw it. And so
Superhero movies, right?
all those, yeah, like superheroes now. So all those title sequence and things are very minimal, very silhouette based, very 2-dimensional, subbing in for 3-dimensional spaces. And so I find that project, if I don't set a really strict time to say, this is how I'm going to think and really just totally focus on this design sense, it bleeds into the other stuff. So for me, Space Dracula, having to keep that on this day, I'm going to turn in these pages, means that usually after our meeting, I immediately tackle the next 2 pages. So I have the meeting, I do the 2 pages, and then they sort of percolate for
Oh my
most
God.
of that
I
week.
could never do that. It's like doing the homework as soon as it's handed to
That's
you.
exactly what I've done.
I could never.
That's what I always tell students to do.
Yeah.
I always
It's so
say
hard.
Start on it today. Start on it the day you're assigned it,
Yeah.
and then it'll be so much easier to finish.
Well,
You don't have to get the whole
Everybody
thing done,
knows that. It's just like that is such common knowledge, right? But no, I've got a week. I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah,
Oh God.
Jack, you've always been like a son to me. Well, a nephew anyway. You got a great future ahead of you in retail food marketing. I just hate to see you throw it all away by going psycho on us.
The other thing that's been happening is because we are doing all these alternate covers and all this other stuff for the solicitations on iCollector, my reason for trying to do that homework first is I don't want that design sense to infiltrate the other work I'm doing, which has to feel more like the work I did when I originally did the iCollector, which is a number of years ago. So there's a different set of principles.
Your brain has to go to a different gear depending on the
100%.
project. Yeah.
And that's been a real challenge. And then that's been interrupted by having 2 teenage boys who are always on adventures and stressing me out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dadding.
Yeah, all that debt. So Those are some of my recent failures. How about you guys?
Well, I think one of the things that is an advantage for you on both the projects you described there is that you are working with somebody else
Yeah.
on those projects, and that's not a situation I'm in. I'm just working on my own on something just for the fun of it.
Well, hold on. Isn't Jonathan Ball doing some?
No.
No.
He's just going to give you some advice, but I honestly, I'm just taking this on myself. I want to write it on myself.
He's been working like as a mentally as like a producer notes thing, right?
We've had just honestly to help me motivate getting it done is really what he's been trying to do, right?
Accountable to another
Exactly,
person.
right. So I guess in that way but I don't feel accountable to Jonathan. I'm just joking.
Not the same way that I do, Jonathan. I do.
But no, but it's like you guys, it's a little bit of a different situation, and also you've done this a lot before, and I have not. So it's I've just been procrastinating, putting it off. It's like what did you say? If you don't, you won't. It's
Yeah.
pretty much what it is, because I can always find something else to do whenever I have time. Like even this morning, I had like an hour. I could have sat down and written for an hour, and I chose to do something else because I can do this instead, and I just went ahead and did that.
Yeah.
So for me, it's about finding the time. With that being said, I have found some time in the last few weeks to do some work on it. I rewrote all my cards out, and I started working on a couple different scenes. And
hold on. Before you jump over that, just for the dear listener, because for people who aren't aware, Dan has been working on a feature-length horror script.
yes,
And so all the steps that go into that. So the card, when you say the card thing,
Recipe cards?
yeah. You
expand on
them up, index card for each scene. You write down kind of just the basics of the scene. So I've looked up a bunch of different methods. Some people put like a plus or minus to show whether or not it's a positive or a negative, kind of like what you were talking about before we started recording. I'm not doing anything like that. I'm just simply putting like seeing what happens, broad strokes of it, and then I can always add to it and change it later if I want to. But getting it up on the board makes it visual, and it reminds me of it, and I go, oh, okay. And it also makes it very digestible in that, okay, I could just take this scene, boom, here's this card, I'm going to work on this today.
Reminds me of like a Scrum system where you have a bunch of, again, physical cards on a board of stuff that's in, about to be worked on, and then another column where what you're working on now, and then a column of finished things. So you get to move a card from one column to the other to the finished.
Yeah.
And there's, it's just something very tangible. It's like crossing off something on a list.
Yes. And I have continued to think about certain issues and certain, like, again, I don't know what's going to happen next for a certain part of it, so I just kind of stopped. And then so I've been thinking more about how to get past that.
Concentrate on just one moment, one scene, rather than the whole thing as a whole, because it's really easy to get overwhelmed by, especially a big project, thinking about the entire thing all at once versus a scene.
So maybe try this method. It's a very simple method because it's a pure cheating. When you're stuck that way, what we've been doing, so I've been meeting weekly with Mike Sanders, and we've been working on a screenplay together. And when we're not sure, he doesn't know this because I'm usually typing. He's pacing around, then I'll pace around for a bit. But I've been correlating all the actual.
He just yells at ideas.
We just like have the conversation.
I have a good visual of this going now.
Right? Yeah. So, but when he's like, okay, well, I don't know how we're going to do this scene, and I don't know either. I say, okay, well, we'll go on to the next one that we have an idea for. I write in brackets for that scene that we skipped, a super well written scene, good job. And then I just move on. Right?
You'll get to it. You'll get it.
I get there.
As long as you know that is the goal.
That's the goal. Super well written scene. And then we also, and I've mentioned this on other episodes, what we do for dialogue when you're not sure, you just know there's supposed to be a rhythm, like these two people are going to say something. So someone says something aggressive, someone says something wise, someone says something funny. Just putting that literally in brackets as you're moving forward, and be like, I get to that later. We need someone to say something funny here. I'm not in the mood.
I'll do that too, where I don't exactly know what the characters are going to be talking about in the scene, but I'll just put like in a note I work in InDesign. So in the InDesign to the side on the pasteboard, on this spread, we established that this character hates this and likes this, and this, those are the goals of this spread. We established these traits of this character and that character. That's all that needs to happen within the dialogue. I'll figure out the actual dialogue later.
Like you had that little bit when we were doing Dragon Nanny, where you just had like on one of the 2-page spreads, it said like, has fun swinging around or something. And then it wasn't on there, but we just knew there would be this part where the robot's going to go on this fun adventure. Those are some of my favorite pages. Those turned into 6 pages of him swinging around.
I think so. Yeah. Just the puttering around traveling pages.
Yeah. Traveling pages. So, So you reorganize your cards.
Mhm.
Did you find that helpful, or did you find
It helped me like envision the entire story again. I
Oh.
think.
I think I've asked this before. Do you attach images ever? Like, do
No,
you, no?
not really. It's not really the way I'm thinking.
Like
One
a
of my
mood board?
struggles, actually, and what I'm going to start doing is looking more into doing a little more research into the kinds of houses that we're talking about here, what kind of
Yeah.
house this could be. Your description of the house you stayed in Brandon kind of got me thinking about it, where something like that kind of a layout could work. I don't want
The
to
layout
be
doesn't
too
make
specific
sense.
about the layout because I want people to be able to shoot this in an actual house that they can find.
Well, and it'll never
But-
be shot in one house, right?
Exactly,
the
right.
basement will be shot in one place. The front room is another one. Yeah.
But it would help me
depending
to-
on the budget?
as far as envisioning like the scene, it would help me to know kind of what it looks like and what those kinds of places did look like back
Yeah.
in the day.
Well,
So
I imagine 99.9% of movies where they show an establishing shot of the house, when those interiors are shot, it's never ever that same house,
Yeah.
right? So
And I
you can-
mentioned this before. The greatest visual effects in Guillermo del Toro's Devil's Backbone are just set extensions. So the room like a lot of the rooms have doorways and you can see into other rooms of this old house.
Mhm.
And he didn't like the actual geography of the house. And so those are plates. He shot plates of the rooms he wanted you to see through different doors and then put screens there so that they could rearrange the geography in post, that from this room you can see into this room from this angle, right? And that kind of stuff is
Yeah.
but I've been thinking just this last couple of minutes about what you said about a deadline, and I think you're right about that. So I have to set a deadline to finish this, and it is going to be August. It's next month. I'll finish it next month because I have to go back to work after that. So I don't
Okay.
have
Dun,
until-
dun, dun.
You're on summer vacation.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
on-
So what you need
yeah.
is a stressful deadline.
Well,
No, it's not stressful. It's a realistic deadline. It's something that August 17th is the day I go back to work. So I'll say the 16th is my deadline for finishing this draft of Meathouse.
yeah, I find like comic conventions huge for me. The amount of artwork I started finishing once I started doing conventions like was triple, if not more, what it was pre-convention me as an artist, because I had these big events that I was going to, and then when I was
Something's
getting
happening
into
yeah.
book printing, they need that
so far in advance.
the slot on the press done months and months in advance. So when I was even getting like an inkling of close, I'd set up that like in 14 months, that is when the printer deadline is, and that's just what you got to shoot for. Yeah. So
Setting
helps.
up that printing deadline is actually why there was a number of factors, but one of the big factors in us getting iCollector at Image was we were getting press time to print the book ourselves. And then we said, well, we have to get either a fast no. A fast no is better than a slow yes. So let's like shake the hornet's nest and say like, it's okay if you don't like it, just tell us no now.
Printing now. Yeah.
Because we're going to make this other plan that requires 13, 14 months of lead time. So we need to know now. So those deadlines help in lots of other ways.
Look, pal, we have to talk.
No, we don't.
Don't what?
Don't have to talk.
Yes, we do.
We do?
Do what?
Have to talk.
Not unless you want to.
I'm in here, inside you, inside your body.
Oh, God. Somebody help me! I'm possessed!
How often do you guys kind of stop and think about that big picture?
Too much.
Too much? Is that
Well, it gets in my way sometimes.
Go, say more.
Well, I just think about it like how would be a movie and how would I don't know. I just get caught
Thinking
up in
about
that kind of stuff.
the things after the finish line?
Yeah,
And
a
the-
little bit.
Mhm.
How would you shoot this? How would you do this kind of stuff? And I think that takes me out of the writing.
Interesting. Yeah, we Mike and I have been pretty good for each other to say we're going to write this movie like it has a huge budget, and then we'll rewrite it for a small budget later, if that's what we have to do. But we set out the structure of the film that we're working on. It's called Chalice, from a low budget mentality to begin with. And so the parameters of these like closed off locations and these sort of bottle scenarios helped us get the scenes. Like, we're going to go from this room to this room and this room to this. Are we ever coming back to this room? Why would we need to? Then do we need that room at all? Like, we had this entire first act section where a character goes into an apartment, finds something, finds some clues, puts some stuff together, and then leaves that place to go to another location where the main action happens. And it was months in when I think he was standing right there. Mike came in for our writing meeting and he's like, I have an idea. I think we can have the door open into the other building. There doesn't have to be, there's too much tension lost when she leaves this one location and goes into another. What would happen if we just made them all in one place?
Let's take away the escape.
Yeah. And that's exactly what it did. I was like, well, if that's true,
That's why
then
so
there's
many
no way out ever for her. That means the first act must contain her unwavering decision to go forward. And it can't happen by accident. And that changed our rewrite. I've been thinking about our cards as a draft 0, because we also did cards. And we put all our characters, all our situations, and all the great lines we could think of. And we limited it to 90 cards.
the
And
drunk elf draft.
You're right.
90, eh?
Yeah, 90
So much difference as to how many cards you should have.
Right?
I've heard
Yeah.
so many different numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did not, because I think that's the David Lynch number.
No, David Lynch says 70.
70. Then we did 70.
Okay.
That's what we did.
Okay.
Right? We did 70. And then we didn't, I decorated the back of them. I did some collage stuff on the back of each
Okay.
card to make them precious. So we wouldn't just toss off ideas. Like if we were adding an idea, it's going on this card with this like delightful pig in a tuxedo, right? What's worthy of that card? What's the idea that meant? And it made it actually a fun game of, if we're going to add an idea, we have to take one of these out.
Mm.
I don't want to take this one out. Let's fit the idea into something someone says or does in a different way.
Ooh, sounds like you're being precious with your ideas.
Well, no, with our structure. We have been
Okay.
completely precious with our structure to have only those cards, a certain number of ideas, and then fit them into the screenplay structure, structuring everything, but not the ideas. Like we have killed, collapsed, or removed entire portions of our original draft in favor of tightening towards structure. And that's been a really, it might be bad. Like, dear listener, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you what we're doing to try and get a good draft finished. And whatever you do that gets a good draft finished, that's the right answer. So some people I know, and I hate them a little bit, like Anna Gire, who I've spent some time with Chadwick Ginter and I were in this conversation. She's like, oh, well, I have 4 days. I'll have to write the novel then. I'll just have to not sleep and just do the whole thing from start to finish.
Well, there's some benefits to that as well, because you can't second guess yourself. You just have to keep moving forward. You can't.
Can you imagine
can't-
trusting yourself so much? I can't imagine trusting myself that much to just start and finish in the same.
But I mean,
7
you've
days.
done stories like that. We did Snow Troll's Daughter and Red and See-Through were stories that we like came up with on a 12-hour drive, got back to our hometown city, and pumped out the entire story in a week and a half, 14 days, I think.
Yeah, we tried to set it up that way. But that was the structure is why.
Yeah.
Why I trusted it was not because the work had to be good. We established the structure. The book had to fit a certain size. Dear listener, Red and See-Through is the story of a little fox and a ghost on an adventure through the woods. And Snow Troll's Daughter is about a little gnome on an adventure recovering a child's toy, spoiler alert, from the troll that comes at the first snowfall. And
They're both silent stories, so we didn't have to worry about dialogue.
and we put them in a little flip book and we designed backwards. We said we want to make a book that you could mail with a stamp.
Mhm.
And so if you remember, we went to the post office and we figured out exactly how many grams it could be, the book, and we worked backwards from that for our size, our page count.
Then we went to the printer and we got everything set up with the printer.
Yeah.
And then we came up with the story
Exactly.
and did the art.
That's
and, yeah.
exactly right. We
Yeah.
had the capsule first. And then
Yeah.
we said, now we're going to fill this with. So we actually booked print time before we even.
Before, yeah. Well, that was a deadline. We had 14 days until the print deadline.
Yeah. If we wanted it right away, we'd have to finish right away. And so we just stuck to. We were precious with our structure, but not with our story. And I think when you do that, it feels more like an experiment. And it's okay if experiments fail. That's the beauty of an experiment, right? You're gathering data. And so
It also had the energy of a crunch, which is good to
Oh.
have those every once in a while. If you work in animation or video game, you're pretty much always in crunch, which I don't think is healthy. But
that is not healthy.
here at the studio, we go into crunch mode a couple times a year.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of It's
What would you call it?
stressful but
Do we
fun.
coast? We coast and then we crunch?
I don't know if we can
We're
call
not
it
really
coast,
coasters.
but
Coast? I'm just trying to think of other
there's
C
not
words.
much coasting
Cruise.
happening in the
Do we
studio.
cruise? No, cruising has a different connotation, which is fine if you're into it.
Forward momentum,
Yeah,
perpetual motion.
perpetual motion. I say it's as much a compulsion as a profession sometimes, right? Another thing I should mention, that so much of this work, dear listener, that we're talking about, that we're doing on our own, these are not for clients. This is not paid work. This is not work where there is a foreseeable payday at the end of any of these, but this is all professional work insofar as we're creating the projects from start to finish and we have a plan to carry them out. With a screenplay, it's different because there's a team sport element, but once you finish the screenplay, it can sit for years. It can float around. It can be doing work while you're working on other things as people are looking at it, noting it, and whatever. In the middle of all of that, I also got a sudden, total Hail Mary, to borrow a common phrase now, opportunity to put together a pitch for a low-budget horror movie. I needed a one-sheet. And people say that this business is obviously who you know, but it's who you know knowing what you can do. So I had the longest work day in a long time last week. I got up at 6 a.m. because I had so much stuff to do for the image thing that it's been a long time since I woke up and was like stressed, as opposed to like, I get to work on this. I was like, if I don't finish this, other people suffer. So I got up early and Tara was like, what's up? And I was like, I'm going to go to work right now in the other room. She's like, no, you're going to make coffee first for me. And I'm going to stay in bed for a while, and that's fine. So I got up and I worked from 6 a.m. till about 3 o'clock. Then we had a screen meeting. Then I had to we had a whole bunch of yard work to do, which was like the last thing I wanted to do. But then we had to do that. And it was in that blistering heat. Then I got back and I got notes back on the other stuff I had to do. So then I had to do that till like 8. And then I flumped. I turned on some pleasant viewing Star Trek. Then I got a text message saying, if you can give me a one sheet for that film idea that I saw your pitch on, like in the next 2 hours, I'll include it in our slate pitch. So suddenly it was like the last thing I want to do right now is any more work at all. But I just went through the mental Rolodex of which of my projects are ready to be converted into a one sheet. And I said, only this one. This is the only one I can do in that amount of time, because I'm just copying my own work, right? You're just plagiarizing from yourself onto a one sheet. You have basically, you have the treatment sort of finished. You have some production design finished. You have some thoughts about how it would actually be made. And you boil that down into a one sheet, literally a one piece of paper. The font I used, I found out in the morning, it was 1.25 pages, the way they put it in their thing. So Miles just cut. He's like, so I just cut some stuff. Yeah. Right? I knew you wouldn't mind, so I just cut some stuff. Because that's it. If your idea is not so good that you can't cut 25% of it and it still be good. I didn't even ask him what he cut. He's like, I'll send you after what I sent in. None of that matters at a certain point, because time, the deadline is the only thing.
Yeah.
Right? And having your name on that list.
I'm in a man. I'm in a strange man. I'll be a son of a bitch. I'm in a strange man, surrounded by strangers in a strange room.
What do you guys think, though, when you hear other people talk about how they manage their deadlines? Do you actually find it useful? Or like, are our dear listeners right now saying like, yeah, fine, but I don't work that way. I don't do that stuff.
People
I don't like that
don't
stuff.
tend to talk about it too much. And when they do, it's kind of, I feel like it's prepared and a little more rosy than what actually happens. When the project's done and they talk about
After
how
the
it
fact,
was
how
made,
works.
it's
Yeah.
a very abridged, shiny version of how it probably went.
Do you think because it feels inevitable?
Makes them sound
The deadline?
rational.
Yeah, no, but like when it's already happened, when they're laying out the thing that got them there, they're talking about the inevitability of it already working. So maybe it seems less or more rosy as a result that you know it works. But would you, I mean, we do it all the time. We talk about the projects we're trying to do, whether
Mhm.
we get there or not is less important.
When most people don't talk about those. They don't talk like I'm just thinking more professional established artists and illustrators and writers. They don't talk about what they're working on as much and the process. They talk about finished projects and yeah, like I said, like kind of a rosy version of its process.
It's easier to look back on it and look at the finished product, and you feel
Yeah.
good about the finished product,
Right.
right? Because you're done.
Well, we have a lofty ambition to try and shoot a short film in November.
Okay.
We want to, in September, cast it. In October, do some actual rehearsal, which you often can't do in short film. There's just not enough time.
Sure.
We're going to try and do some rehearsals because it's a kind of a lofty idea. It's definitely too big for our britches, the kind of thing that I think we can try and pull off. And the only possible way that it could work in my mind is to board it. And so every time we record, I do another piece of the boards and then I forget. And then we come to record and I pick my stack up and I do another set of the boards. And I've just been working out the visuals of it in no particular order is how I'm doing the boards. I know there are shots like this and shots like this that I want to pull off. And I'm not worrying about it. This is a method I've never tried before to just like non sequitur. I'm borrowing it in a way. It's a visual borrow from how Chadwick Ginther works, who I'm pointing behind me because he's working quietly on his novel behind us in the studio. But he has explained to me how these like surges of writing will show up in no particular order. So he just gathers them up until the story presents itself and then he can rearrange them.
I think too, people don't want to dilute your experience of the story. So if, when Meathouse comes out as a film and then if
Hear that certainty, Dan?
Yeah.
But if you then go on all these interviews and talk about all these things that you wanted to do, all these scenes that were kind of half finished, like you talk about all the maybes in it, people will be like, oh, I wish that had happened. Oh, that would have been better than what actually was. Like, will it kind of dilute the finished project if they hear about all the dead branches of the project?
Yeah, the maybe.
Some way.
Do you think so?
Some way, I think maybe. I think that depends on what it is.
Mhm.
I mean, they don't generally talk about that. I mean,
Yeah,
what you're saying
and-
is in the after.
Aren't entire social media channels right now just full of people talking about outtakes and side stories and side quests around films?
But not
Like,
not
there's a whole-
outtakes, but like even further back, like where the story was originally going, and I don't think that's
Rewrites and stuff like that. I don't know how much to cover that.
the big rewrites. I think those are kind of, those are left in the drawer and not discussed as much. And I wonder if that's because they don't want the viewer thinking about that those other versions
the other
that
version
could have been.
that you might like better.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Or maybe they just want to sound more professional and make it sound like they knew exactly what they were doing from step one to finish.
Do you find that people are more in media, specifically now, let's talk just about movies, because there's so much trailer culture around movies, how people dissect it. Do you think that people's disappointment in modern media, and there's a lot more voice disappointment than there's ever been, is really that people don't have the habit of separating the movie they imagined versus the movie they just watched?
I think in some cases, yes, depending on how much it was hyped up or how excited you are about the movie or whatever, based on what had come before.
And do you think maybe like comic book movies specifically, because there's so much lore related to them, you can imagine the movie you would have made with all of those same toys. And then when you don't watch that movie, you're mad.
There's also so much of their content is kind of criticizing it, right? Like the amount of YouTube channels and TikTok profiles that their job, like their whole platform is talking about why this movie could have been better.
Yeah.
Or what's wrong with this movie.
Yeah.
And so it's just
Morbius
way
was
more
perfectly fine.
I didn't see that one.
No, either time it came back to the theaters.
Like it came back to life.
Yeah,
'Cause
like
it was undead. You see, huh?
no,
Risen again.
it was terrible both times.
You know what I found out about a movie that went back to the theaters twice? Martin Short, Inner Space.
Oh yeah.
Right? It was released. Nobody went to it. this is apocryphal. I don't have all the facts. And so they just released it again with a better ad campaign a second time, and then people did show up to it. Like, the way that movies worked then is they kind of thought Martin Short's famous enough, we don't have to advertise it, it'll work.
Oh crap.
Then no one went. And so then they actually advertised it. And
I saw I might have seen that same video, and I saw they showed a poster of the first version of it, and the poster was completely different. It had like inflated balloons for letters for inner space. Like it was mainly Martin Short's face on the poster. Like it was not
just selling it as a comedy.
Yeah. It did not look like what the movie was. And I think the new poster, the one that we came to know, much better sells. But I think it was still not a great success in theaters either way.
No, I don't think so. But a tiny submarine having a battle in your body is kind of a cool idea.
It is very
right?
cool idea.
Causing
I
you to
love
be
that
like
movie.
Martin.
That's a great film.
Yeah, as a kid, I like that movie a lot. I just watched Short Circuit again for the first time. Yes, we'll acknowledge the brown face in the film, but the practical effects of that film hold up so much because they're just really there. He really is just a robot puppet, and that's all they're trying to do. So
Wally's grandfather.
But nobody would have known that would have worked until you try it, right? And these things are kind of at the heart of what I'm talking about. Is like we have in Chalice, we have this essential monster element, this a subversion of the vampire myth that we're trying to do. And every time we write towards it, I have a hesitation that it can't be done. It won't work. But my only job is to write down what I want to appear, not what can be done. And so much of what can be done, a fellow I know, Jason, who works in movies, effects and other things, sent me a video recently from Belize of a water system, a rainstorm system that they scratch built on site to make this hurricane hit a window. And if I had written a hurricane is blowing against the glass, I would have never imagined in a million years how they would accomplish it. And
Pressure washer.
And having seen the video of how they did accomplish it, which I still did not understand fully because there were so many pressure pipe systems that he was showing me. That's not our job when you're writing, right? That'll be a whole other industry that if they decide to try and make it, they'll try to make it, right? So, dear listener, just write that the robot is 50 stories tall. That's okay. Someone else will figure out how to do it. That's right. That's the only thing. And if you draw it as a comic, there's no budget anyway. So, at one point, Jonathan gave me a note. He's like, what if we built a tower? What if in our story, they build a tower that goes all the way to the moon? And I go, well, how would they do that? He says, who cares? Wouldn't it be cool to see? Yeah. And that was such a important element in developing the end of the Eye Collector. We didn't build a tower all the way to the moon. I used a beam of light at a certain point just so it would be visually more interesting. But for a little while, I was scratching out that for no reason that we would explain, there would be a tower that connected Earth to the moon, and people just thought it was normal.
It's a cool. It's basically a space elevator with the moon at the top.
With the moon at the end. That doesn't work. That's
you know
because the moon spins.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, space elevators don't work either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
theoretically they do. Nobody's ever built one.
We're nowhere close yet.
We'll get them on a filament up there. Listen, you know where I did put a space elevator right up at I know. Yeah, Backbone of Night. There's a space elevator in that. I like space elevators. And my real reason for resisting it on Eye Collector is I think I was working on Backbone of Night at that time. So I was like, I can't have two space elevators in two books at the same time.
It's Kamicha. It's the space elevator guy.
It's
everything's a space elevator.
It's always a space elevator with this guy, right? Kid's book called Grandma's House, and you just go up the space elevator to go. Actually, come to think of it, it's not bad.
Grandma lives on the moon?
Yeah. Yeah, on the elevator to the moon. It occurred to me today that the elevator is the only motor vehicle that you can operate while texting safely.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, bus. I mean, I can ride a bus.
You can ride it, but you can't operate it.
Are you operating the elevator or are you riding it?
Well, you push that button. It goes where I say it goes.
It used to have to be manually operated, right? There was a time where you needed a person to operate it.
Yeah. Okay, so We took a ride on that elevator, that flight of fancy, but we've come down to the main floor, dear listener. And on this main floor, I am going to ask my two fellow co-hosts to codify useful advice from our conversation so far, things that they think they may try. I have a few that I've gathered from you guys as well. But also stuff that you think is not good advice, that won't apply to you, that you knew as soon as you heard it, you were like, I'm not doing that.
Well, I certainly envy you. Fun, excitement, relaxation.
No excitement. Doctor's orders.
How about maybe a little shipboard romance?
Well, as long as it isn't too exciting.
My piece of advice, the set of Deadline, I think that's a good overall one. And put on the horse blinders and concentrate on one aspect of the project, right? A single scene, a single page, a single environment. Like I've got a big comic book project on the go right now, and it's very overwhelming thinking about the entire book as a whole. And so I like to just kind of zero in on like,
Don't
we
be
have
overwhelmed by the hundreds of pages you
so
have
many.
yet to do.
We have a snowy village. So I'm going to worry about the layout of this snowy village, and we go in one building. It's a little accessory shop. So I'm going to worry about that accessory shop and what's in the accessory.
all I gotta
That's
know.
it. That's all I have to think about. Everything else doesn't exist for me right now. So that's, the overall deadline and putting on the blinders and working on just one aspect and making that as good as you can in the moment you can, because if you try to think about it all at once, it just gets overwhelming and falls apart and you lose all your steam. All right, do Dan's now, and I'll try to think of a bad piece.
Well, I guess here's what I want to tell myself, because I'm frustrated with myself for not having. It's been almost 5 years I've been talking about this Meathouse thing, if you realize.
I can outdo you. It's been at least 8, maybe 10 years I've been talking about Chalice.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay,
it's-
well, I mean, I still feel frustrated with my progress on this, because you guys have been supporting me the entire way, and I still have not finished this thing. But what I want to say to myself is just do it.
Yeah.
For Nike's slogan there, and just get it done. Just finish is better than perfect. Whatever slogan else you want to put in there, but I just need to finish this and then worry about making it better, because I do
Do a shit draft.
one of the things
Drunk out.
Jonathan has been helpful. I will say talking to Jonathan has been helpful, but one thing he told me that didn't really help was you just have to write for a minute. Just do it for a minute. I'm like, it's not going to do it.
That doesn't work for you.
No.
Yeah, you can't do that.
I get what he's trying to do. He's trying to trick yourself, because once you start writing, then you're just going to forget about it, and it'll be like 3 hours have gone by.
Or
But
even
that doesn't happen.
an
for
hour
me.
or 20 minutes or whatever.
That doesn't happen for
Just
me.
starting.
I do get into the zone. I do get into that, but it's not after like sitting there for a minute writing. I just have to kind of, I don't know. I have to figure something out to do that.
Can't think of anything specific, but when I was about to become a parent, the best piece of advice was screw everybody's advice.
No.
It only applied to them. You'll figure it
Yeah.
out. You'll be
Baby
fine.
will
Good,
teach you what it
actually.
Yeah.
needs.
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
love that. Because I tell you this, and we can all relate to this, when you're a new father, you get nothing but advice from people.
Oh my God.
And man, is it annoying.
Yeah.
Well, I think
I try not to do that with you. I was like trying not to say stuff like that, because it's just like you're hearing it from everybody. I know you are.
And every kid is so different. They
Yeah.
teach you what they need. And it's like if I tried to parent Leaf the way I parent Finley, it does not work, and vice versa.
But I think you feel accomplished that you figured something out and you want to share with your friends. I figured out this thing to get your kid to sleep. This is what works.
Yeah.
Right? You're like,
Yeah.
it's a goal that I've accomplished and you want to share it. And it's great. It doesn't work for them, but
Yeah.
you just want to, you've gone through all these trials and tribulations with your kid and you want to have something to show for it, which is advice. And also a kid.
Like, oh, how are you doing? Oh, the baby's not sleeping through the night. Oh, mine started sleeping through the night when she was 2 months old.
Oh yeah.
Here's what we did.
Yeah. Here's what we
No, we
did.
didn't do anything. She just started sleeping through the night. 2 months old.
Yeah.
I was lucky.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff is no.
Yeah, fuck you advice, as we call that. One thing that I definitely will not do, that advice that you said is like, I'm going to set a solid deadline, right? I'm going to set this date. Like you even said the date out loud. Unless it's production related, I don't do that. I
Like if
can't
it's
do
just
that.
you self-imposing, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
You need somebody else who's also waiting at that finish line for
That's
you.
right. Yeah. So, I mean, you pointed it out. When we were finishing Blood Letters, the reason why we finished it and had to keep a schedule is because I was beholden to Ariel. Don't let Ariel down, right? When we were working on Shared World stuff, we set as our mantra, don't let Chadwick down, right? He was the first of us to be finished. Book is the best of ours. And so like, don't let him down. Just like do the work that you have to do to support that. it's much harder to do that for yourself.
It is.
You can talk yourself. You're like, I can handle it. Oh, I'll just stress.
I let myself down all the time.
all the
Yeah.
time. We let ourselves down all the time. And so that's advice I won't follow is like set that internal dump. But what I have been doing is I keep dear listener, I keep a calendar, but it's analog. I don't keep digital calendars. I keep paper calendar. And then I write ahead in the paper calendar stuff that I have to do. I also call it my alibi. So I have an alibi for all the places I've been. If anything bad happens in the cities I visit, so I know exactly what I did on what days. But I'll write in reminders in multiple weeks ahead, multiple months ahead, like I've been doing for my Witch Police novel, so that when I'm looking at the week, there's like Witch Police, all the novel work that I have to do that I hope to do is on the day that I schedule time to do it. And then it gets into my head that like on Tuesday at 4:00, that's my meeting.
And so you do that at the beginning of the week when you map that out, or what do you do?
Sometimes, often at the beginning or near the end of a project.
Oh, okay.
So like, I know, for example, there is a hard deadline for the Witch Police book. I'm about 90% finished it. And the last 10% takes about half the amount of time because there's lots of layout and design. It went from being a 58 page project to a 200-page project. So it's like ballooned substantially in the amount of work it is to lay out. But I had all the stories mostly written. That's a digression. The point I'm making about the schedule is when I know that there's stuff coming up, I just write the name of it in a bunch of places at random across my schedule. And then when I'm going through the week, like Tara will be like, hey, what's Thursday like? And I'll flip over and I'll be like, oh, I have to work on, I think Thursday's clear because I haven't thought. Or
So once you've got the project, you're like, okay, I'll do 3 hours here, 3 hours here, whatever. How many?
Yeah.
Is it like time frames like that? Or what do you do?
So I have a little circle square system, since you asked. I'll be real specific. So I'll just write the name of the project, and then I'll put a little pip, like a little empty square or empty circle under it. And if I think I have a fair amount of time, I'll put 3. So like work on it for a while. And then if I only have a little bit of time, I just put 1. And then when I get to it in the schedule, if I did work on it on that day, I color in the pip, right? And so if I thought I was going to work on it a bunch, but only worked on it a little bit, I'm honest with myself. I just color in 1. And then later when I'm feeling like really stressed out, it's also a way to hold myself accountable in that way. I look back and I go, well, it's your own fault, loser. You had all this time.
Yeah.
And you did show up, but you didn't work long enough on it. So that's one of the ways to. But if I set I'm going to be finished this novel on this date, it never has worked for me ever.
Okay.
Only, and I tend to be done ahead of schedule if I've done what I'm describing, put it in the calendar a lot. And so my calendar is now filled with all these little scraps of projects that I'm trying to push across the deadline. That again, dear listener, have nothing to do with being paid. These are when you are writing and illustrating your own stuff, you have to have the manuscript finished before it can earn you any money. So you just have to work on it. You just have to have it. And that whole chestnut about luck being opportunity and preparedness, that's totally true. You got to have some shit lying around in order for someone to text you in the middle of the night and say, get it to me by morning and I'll put it on the slate.
Yep.
The slate is just a wish list. It doesn't mean we got that job either. But
you won't get it if you don't try.
Now we're one of 8 that could be considered, right? So, yeah. So I won't set a deadline, but I do like the blinders. I'm very good at compartmentalizing. I'm not going to worry about any of this other stuff. Just going to work on this right now.
And every time it happens, by the time you finish that one thing, so by the time I finish the snowy village and the accessory shop, my brain will click about what I want to do for that, that other spread that I've been kind of humming and hawing about, right? So as soon as you accomplish that one thing, it kind of locks in the next thing, I find.
Dan, it occurs to me that if I was in the position you were on, one of the ways in which I get multiple projects done is when I don't feel like writing, like it's on my schedule, like, oh, I'm supposed to work for an hour. I don't want to work on that. I make sure I have another project that I've started that maybe I'll work on that one.
Yeah.
And then I just fill the time. I weaponize my procrastination that way.
Yeah.
Which is like, I'm supposed to be working on which belief. Sometimes I've done this, dear listener. I'm going to be real honest with you. On my calendar right now, where it says which beliefs, there are also in different colored pen, me writing in a different project name, putting circles, and then coloring them in on that project because I'm procrastinating working on
You
the
worked
other
on
one.
the other one?
But I'm keeping track of this real productive time that I have.
Yeah.
I think that's a real privilege of like us in the studio being able to jump around on projects. Whereas,
Totally.
yeah,
Yeah.
most people don't have that luxury of being able to like, oh, I'm bored with this today. I'm going to work on that instead.
Yeah.
But
It also makes you feel productive and getting
does.
some done. Otherwise, you just kind of feel crappy.
Yeah,
no,
no, you
it
feel shitty
still
about it.
stresses you out about, oh, I should like, I'm getting lots done, but it's not what I should be getting
Not
done.
the good
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are no shortcuts to getting the work done, dear listener. I think that's the important part. You're just going to have to do it. But there are great delights also. And I'll mention this. I think this is a good way to wrap it up, is to say that nothing that comes to finishing a book, graphic novel, a screenplay, a play, shooting parts of a movie, a short film, whatever it is you're trying to do, write a poem, write a song. None of the labor will give you as much joy as the labor, right? You'll have those moments where you literally are patting yourself on the back and you think you're the greatest genius on earth because you put that turn of phrase, that idea together. You're like, man, it's going to be so cool when it's all together. 2 months later, you'll forget even that scene mattered to you, but now it's there. And so I'm often just chasing that feeling of like, hey, that's kind of fun, and that wasn't there before.
The journey, not the destination.
Yeah, and it's lofty to say, but if you like this little storyboard thing that I'm doing here, these are not particularly good, and you can confirm these are not particularly good storyboards.
Chicken scratch.
Right? Yeah, these are not particularly good storyboards. But when I drew this step by step of the head opening up and the thing coming out of it, I was like, oh, if we could actually pull that off, that would be amazing.
I know somebody who could do that.
Impossible. Yes, we both know somebody who could do that. He is too busy to work on
I'm sure
this
he is,
one.
Yeah.
Looks like a scene from The Fly.
Right?
But, yeah.
Oh, it's going to be so much better. But also it could be horrible and bad and worse, and who knows, right? But that feeling of, oh, that would be so cool if we could pull it off. That's what you're chasing a little bit. On this podcast, which we claim loftily is about how genre gets made, we often go on these tangents about what our projects are. But genre is how projects are defined after they've been made, not before. They're guide rails at first, but when you're actually working on something new, it can feel like it's no good for a very simple reason, I think, dear listener. We are in logline culture right now, where everything is about the pitch. Everyone is telling you how to pitch. Everyone is giving you advice about your pitch and how you have to compare it to 2 things or 3 things. And if you find you can't compare your idea to 3 existing things, you think, oh, it must be no good then. False. It might actually be original at last. And so just don't give up. Scratch it out. One word is progress. I would say don't set a deadline. Dan would say set a deadline. Justin would say put the blinders on just do a little piece. Dan would say maybe it's fun to think of the whole picture. Don't follow any of our advice. It's your baby, and it's going to teach you how to raise it. This has been Super Pulp Science. I'm Jim B. Kamichuk, encouraging you all to join the fight and make comics.